Welcome back to Straight Facts World Cup edition. I'm joined as ever back on Tuesdays with the man Lee Gunner. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well, man. Very well. How are you, most importantly, Terry? How are you?
Honestly, I'm getting better. I've had no panic attacks or anything for like 4 days. A few little like palpitations when I've got like a bit of anxiety's come in, but I've been good. A lot better. Feeling more myself, more animated. So yeah, mate, road to recovery is good. I appreciate it.
That's good, man. I won't trigger you today then. We're not talking about Arsenal so much anyway, are we? So
Absolutely. Lots to go through on the show, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're watching live, we'll go through it. If you're watching the playback, so we're obviously going to be talking the World Cup starts. You know, Messi humbled today. We're going to be talking about England's chances after a brilliant opening day win. Of course, Guardiola has signed a new deal. It's going to be announced very, very soon with Manchester City. And we're also going to be taking a look. I really want to get Lee's point of view on this more than mine. I've already had my say, but on the kind of BBC hypocrisy towards Qatar and everything else that's kind of going on with that. And we're gonna delve into that in a little while. Any other questions you've got, you know what to do. Get your comments in. Make sure like buttons are being hit. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. But I wanted to start with your goat today. Lionel Messi and Argentina, your favorites. I think you said you're going to be Argentinian, supporting them. And you got embarrassed today by the Saudis. Talk to me.
Well, the GOAT scored, by the way. He did actually score. So let's not forget he did actually score. Let's see if your GOAT scores, yeah? Let's see if your GOAT scores.
I'm going to go 1-0 up in this debate straight away because you told me once upon a time you said on this show about Bruno Fernandes that penalties aren't real goals.
No. I never said that. Why are you you're a joker.
Hey, got him. 2 minutes and Lee's in the mud, people.
I said stat padding is what I said. I know what I said. And listen,
Messi stat padded today.
Yeah, Messi has never stat padded in his life, mate. Yeah, let's just have that right. He is still the GOAT. And I actually thought he weren't great today. Let's have that right. He wasn't great today, but I actually thought he played all right. Yeah, if I was to mark him out of 10, I'd say 7. Yeah, but he's put the bar up here that every time he gets the ball, you expect him to do something. Today, they marked him really well. He still had glimpses. Yeah, he scored a goal, but I don't think at half time anyone expected the Saudis to come out in the second half and do a madness. I can't lie. I actually expected them to be less fit than the Argentines, to fade after about 65 minutes. But mate, they were awful, Argentina. They were really, really awful. And that winning goal deserved to win any football match. What a goal. Like, honestly, mate, that goal was just a joke. I mean, Messi himself should have applauded that. And that was out of the Messi scrapbook, wasn't it? It was such a sick goal. But yeah, man, Argentina in the mud. And the thing is, if you look at their team, this is why I've made them favourites. It's not just because of Messi. I'm like the run into the World Cup. They've gone 36 unbeaten. Last time they lost a game was 2019. Not the last Copa America. It was the one before that. They've kept 13 clean sheets in the last 15 games, you know. And other than that, mate, you look at their squad, yeah, and you think, well, they've got Di Maria, they've got Lautaro Martinez, they've got Messi, they've got De Paul, they've got Lautaro Martinez. They've got some very good players, man, some very good players, and none of them turned up. Let's be real. They were shocking. You know, the amount of times they were offside in that game, and it's just embarrassing in that first half. And the thing is, they had 3 goals disallowed, all for offside. And let's be real with it. The Saudis, albeit they only had a couple of shots on target, mate, they were well worth their win today. Yeah, let's just give them a bit of credit as well. They were well worth their win. And
yeah,
to do it against a team that was ranked 3rd in the world, with Messi in the team and all the other decent players they've got, mate, you've got to give them credit. Yeah. And as for Argentina, mate, they've got an uphill task now because the rest of that group is not easy, is it? You know, Mexico are never an easy team to play against. I think they actually hold the record for qualifying for the most World Cups, I think, without ever winning it. I think they've been in pretty much every World Cup, Mexico. And then Poland, well, Lewandowski in the team, they've always got a chance, haven't they? So yeah, man, that's not an easy task for them to get out. But the one thing I will say is if anyone can turn it around, it is them. And Yeah, man. Saudi Arabia were class. And do you know what? Do you know what they did today? I can't remember the fella's name in midfield, but every time Messi took a touch on the ball, one would go and engage him and press him straight away, and then the other one would be literally 2 foot behind that guy, waiting for the next touch. Yeah, and they nullified him as best as they could. Listen, he's a quality footballer, mate. Yeah, and he had a couple of times where he could have. He had a shot in the first couple of minutes, should have scored. Then he had the chance that with the penalty, scored. Then he had a free kick, shocking free kick, miles better from him normally. And then he had a chance where he had 3 players around him, and he should have just took one more touch, and then he would have levered it. And the guy got a great last-ditch tackling on him. So, albeit he weren't great, he still had 2, 3, 4 chances today, or half chances today. And I'd expect him to do a little bit better. And like I said, I'd give him a 7. But the rest of that team was shocking, mate. I can't lie. Di Maria. Do you know what I noticed very quickly as well about Argentina? Every time Di Maria got the ball, nobody overlapped him. It was literally him again. It was like watching Saka for Arsenal today for Di Maria. Yeah, when he gets not in his performance, because Saka's been brilliant this season and for England. I'm sure we'll come to that. But until this season, watching Saka, it was Saka versus 3 players. And that is what they did with Di Maria today. Nobody overlapped him. Nobody was getting him around behind him, taking a defender away, giving him that chance to come in. He put some good balls in the box. And then that's where you expect Lautaro to be or Alvarez to be, and neither of them were there. So, yeah, man, shock result. One of the biggest shocks in World Cup history. So mad, but that's what the World Cup's about, Terry.
Yeah, do you know what it is? And I wanted to ask you about this because I know you've had a lot of criticism, and I've given you a lot of banter before about about kind of not celebrating irrelevant wins, or the aim of elite level sport is to win. But when you see a team. And I say, listen, Saudi are a very rich country, but they're not a footballing nation per se. They don't have a rich history in the game like your Brazils and your Frances and your Spains, etc. When you see them have results like this, and you see the mass celebrations, like, do you feel it's acceptable for them to like party on this? I mean, because this is the biggest result in the history of their nation from a footballing point of view. That is something to celebrate and hold on to, right?
Yeah, cool, mate. Listen, do you know what I found funny about it, Terry? Nobody went and asked for Messi's shirt. That tells you how big a performance it was.
Yeah,
that tells you how big it was. And the thing is, it's. I get what you're saying, and I know you're trying to draw me out again to get a little clip for your clips channel. I know what you're trying to do, right? But yeah, they should celebrate because they're not a footballing nation, and they're next door neighbours to Qatar. Like, you see the scenes in the crowd today, man. There was about 80 thousand people in that stadium. Yeah, most of them were from Saudi Arabia. They come en masse. So listen, it's the first time they've ever won the first group stage game. I think they've never got out of the group apart from the first time they qualified, which was in '94.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose they can celebrate. Why can't they? It's different when it's different when it's a league and you end up going on a 5-game unbeaten streak and then lose and finish 5th. Do you know what I'm saying? If it's a knockout competition, which this is, yes, they're in a group. I get that. But they've just given themselves the best opportunity to get out of the group now. And I don't think they expected to get out the group. Yeah, if this game is going ahead at 5 o'clock tonight or 4 o'clock tonight, whenever, 5 o'clock Spanish time in 40 minutes, if that game's ends up in a draw, mate, they're getting out the group, Saudi Arabia.
Mate, listen, I agree. And I think that at all levels of sport, there's times where just winning a game can be a big moment. And, when you get a non-league team or a League 2 team knocking out a championship or a Premier League team in the FA Cup, you celebrate that. And I'm not being disrespectful to Saudi Arabia. If they played that game again 10 times, they'd probably lose 9 of them, maybe draw 1. Like, it was such a good result. And I was happy to see it because England, which we'll get on to, I think, woke the World Cup up. Brilliant performance from them. All the games after that yesterday were a little bit meek, a little bit cagey. I don't think, even when I just watched Tunisia and Denmark, there was some good football, but I didn't feel like either team went for the kill. I felt they were both a little bit reserved, almost from the angle of, well, let's not lose today. I'd rather draw the first game. But that Saudi game, for me, it's woken the World Cup up. It was the game where you think, right, anyone can lose. The whole talk in the build-up, they're the favourites, 36 games unbeaten, they'll do it. And straight away, it doesn't mean they won't win it. It doesn't mean they won't get out of the group. But it was nice to see like some real jeopardy and a real spanner thrown into that group straight away. And listen,
it was somebody put in the chat. It was a free hit for Saudi Arabia.
it
was. But mate, listen, this is what the World Cup's about, Terry. Right? We've seen this over the years where we see World Cups and Euros. Like Wales got to a semi-final of the Euros, not too long ago. Wales are the second smallest nation in it after Qatar this time around. It's the first time they've qualified for 64 years. So this is what the World Cup's about. It's about seeing the best players, in the best countries. And we see it every time there's a tournament. Everyone hypes up Belgium. They flop every time. We see England almost win a Euros, get to a semi and get knocked out by Croatia. So yeah, it's mad. It's mad, mate. I don't think anybody, even the most ardent Saudi Arabian, would have put money on them. Well, they don't gamble anyway, due to their religion, I believe. But I don't think anyone would have given them a chance. Even the most up there Saudi would never have said they're beating Argentina today, mate. So when the odds are 100 to 0, I think you can see the scenes in the dressing room afterwards. You see the scenes in the crowd and that. So fair play to him, man. Like I said to you backstage, that is the only full 90 minutes of football I've watched so far in this tournament. I've seen the goals. I see a bit of the England game, but that is the first. And I wanted to watch Messi. That's why I watched it. And I was just chilling there. I was just I knew I was going to get roasted as well as soon as I come on it.
And that's what happens. I think at the
football's a humbler, man.
Of course it is. Football is a humbler, and Messi flopped today, and he'll get stick for it. But he can come back in his next game and score 4 goals. He's that good, and that's when you're the best. When you're one of the greatest of all time. And I'm saying that as a generic comment because not everybody thinks that he is. For me, he's in the top 2 of all time. You're always going to get stick when you have an off game, irrespective of putting that penalty away, and they've got to make some changes. In terms of
his own, though, mate.
No, we can't. It's a team. This is the thing, though. One of the things I hate. I was listening to some commentary or some punditry the other day where Rio Ferdinand was talking about when RVP came to Man United and what Fergie was asking them to do. And RVP was in the studio, and RVP was saying, yeah, basically, Fergie was telling the players that if you can't find Van Persie, you'll be dropped. You've got to find him with passes. So that makes people say things like, oh, one-man team. But I'm like, you're not listening. If Carrick's finding the passes, that's 2 people. You're never a one-man. The idea could be get the ball to Messi when he's in the right areas. Well, if your team isn't good enough to get the ball to Messi in the right areas, you're not a one-man team because he can't use his individual talent and brilliance to unlock a side. So yeah, look, it was great. It was a great leveler. On England yesterday, though, because Saka on fire. I know we conceded 2 goals. One of them you're not happy to concede, but you're already 4-0 up. Did it really matter? And then for me, a very dodgy penalty conceded, which I haven't really spoken about because we won so convincingly. It's not really a talking point. And I think it was more controversial because we should have had one first and we didn't get one. But England looked brilliant yesterday. Saka on fire. Talk to me.
Mate, Saka was superb. So was Jude Bellingham. Yeah, that header's mad underrated, by the way. Yeah, what a finish. Yeah, and the thing is, big up to Saka. I know you want to speak about Saka. Big up to Saka, by the way, because the last time he kicked a ball in a tournament for England, he missed a penalty. Yeah, and then he's gone through all that racial abuse. He's gone through online trolling. He must have been in the gutter mentally. He's picked himself up this season. He's been superb for us. Yeah, and he's been brilliant for England. He got man of the match again yesterday. Mate, he was class yesterday. From what I've seen, like I said, I didn't watch the whole 90 minutes. I've seen all the highlights, of course, but he looked unbelievable yesterday. But England did. England as a whole. Harry Maguire should have had a nailed-on penalty. Their penalty, I don't know how he's given that, by the way. Especially if Maguire's getting rugby tackled and then they're giving that. But yeah, man, England look good. England look really good. And Harry Kane is massively underrated. Yeah, that guy is such an intelligent footballer. You've only got to look at Rashford's goal, mate. The way he brought that out the air with 3 players around him, the first touch took it away from all 3 of them. Yeah, and he had no right to win that ball. He's such a good player. If you look at the ball he put in for Sterling, he didn't even look up. The whole time he knew what he was going to do. He knew when he was going to do it, and he executed it perfect. The goals yesterday were quality.
They were. And the crazy thing is, we only had 11 shots and 6 on target.
That's more like it.
And scored them. But equally, look, of course, Saka's strike, first one was a stunner. But the other goals, they were precision. And we were so good in that regard.
Could have had more. We hit the bar. Maguire hit the bar.
Yeah, exactly, with the header as well. I think on Saka, first of all, again, I watched the game. I watched extended highlights when I got home last night before I went to sleep. And Saka is just, I rated him from the first time I see him kick a ball for Arsenal. I think when you watch an academy player at anyone's club, I honestly feel in the first 2 to 3 games, you can see whether they've got the ability to become a top class player or not. I think you can see it straight away. With Saka, I'm like, yeah, you can see it. Then comes two things. Will he work hard enough to get to that level? And will his body be able to manage the pressures of elite level sport? Will he become an injury prone player? Will he be a Theo Wilcott, whose body could never really take to playing at that level consistently? And Jack Wilshere, another, although he's got more contact injuries, but you get my point. Saka's just gone to another level. And the fact that in his debut World Cup game, he scores a brace. And I saw people getting at Rooney yesterday because he's now got double the amount of World Cup goals as Rooney.
Yeah. But it's not what people do, Terry. That's what they do. It's
but then I saw a lot of United fans replying and then listing the names of so many other world-class players with one or no World Cup goals. And the list is quite deep, really, when you actually break it down. Like, one name I didn't really like, Lewandowski, I think, has got one. Zlatan's got none. No World Cup goals. Rooney, by the way, Rooney's Euros record is pretty good. When you actually look at his total Euro goal, he's one of the highest. But anyway, it was really good for Saka to achieve what he did yesterday. I think it takes a tremendous amount of pressure off of him now for the remainder of the tournament because he's got the goals. He started off. The only player that's probably thinking I need to score in the next game is Kane because you want your main striker off.
But that's good though. 6 goals and he didn't get any of them.
I know.
Yeah, it was good, isn't it? And even when the subs came on, by the looks of it, like Grealish getting a goal, Callum Wilson getting the assist for that, like some good performances yesterday, man. Some really good performances. And even Pickford, the save Pickford made when that geezer was clean through on goal, where he tipped it onto the bar. What a save!
Yeah, that was a great.
I know the geezer should have buried it, and maybe a better player would have. Yeah, but mate, there was some good performance yesterday, and people were sitting there. I've seen it all day today and all like last night. Oh, it's only Iran. Mate, they're ranked 20th in the world. Yeah, the team that Argentina just lost to are 51st. So you got to give a bit of credit as well, man. That was a good performance. But we know, Terry, that we can do this as England. And I've said this to you so many times and to other people. The Premier League's the quickest league. Yeah, it might not be the best technically, but it is the fastest paced league. So why is it every time England go to a tournament, they slow the game down to everyone else's level? Go at 100 mile an hour like Premier League, we'll blitz these teams. Yeah, and I think yesterday we did that. We played to our strengths yesterday, which was attack, because our defense ain't that great. Yeah, and we see that with the 2 goals, albeit one shouldn't have been a penalty, but don't give them the opportunity to get a penalty. Yeah, and the goal that the first goal that the lad scored, Harry Maguire was sleeping. Yeah, the whole England team down that side was sleeping from that throw-in. So yeah, man, we just got to play to our strengths. We've got some quality players going forward. Sterling always does all right for England. Kane always does all right. Saka's been brilliant for England since he's burst into the England team. Jude Bellingham's a quality player as well. Then you've got Grealish coming off the bench, and Callum Wilson off the bench. We've got some brilliant Foden, another one. That's some great players going forward, man.
Rashford, who scored yesterday as well. I was happy for him because you just see that relief on
that was a quality goal as well, man.
Do you know what I was thinking about England yesterday? That was a good goal. We probably don't have as many stars or individually talented players as the golden generation. We don't have any centre backs as good as the Rios and the Terrys and the Sol Campbells. No one is as good as a fullback who's English as Ashley Cole. Reece James and Trent, very good right backs in their own rights, but we've got them there. Midfielder wise, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes. Like you sort of look at it and go, would you put any of our current midfielders as better than them in their peak? Most would probably say no. And then attackers, Harry Kane gets into, I think, pretty much any England team of the last as a number 9 for the past 30, 40 years, in my opinion, since Jimmy Greaves, 50 years even, he gets into the team. But then you kind of think Beckham would get into these sides. You probably wouldn't get more than 3 or 4 of this current team, player for player, into those England teams we grew up watching. But I think as a team and a squad, we're better than all those squads. I remember in the 90s, we were bringing Steve Stone off the bench. In 2004 at the Euros, we were bringing on Darius Vassell. At the World Cup in 2010,
Aaron Anderton.
In 2010, Matthew Upson was starting games.
Don't diss Upson, mate. Yeah, don't diss Upson.
Mate. But yeah, and I know he was originally.
Did he probably one more than Harry Kane?
But then you speak about Harry Kane, and you're right. See, what Harry Kane does really well, he knows where the ball needs to be delivered. It then becomes down to the attackers. Are you going to be in the right place? And he crossed that ball in, and Sterling made the right run. It was a great finish. It was a great start, and it was
a great goal. Like, and if you watch that goal back, Kane does not look up once. Yeah, and the way he stopped the guy, which gave that split second for it, that defender to slow down, then he went again, whipped it, mate. That was so intelligent what he did. But every time he gets the ball, and me and my friend were talking about this, Yeah, saying that it was probably Jose who's turned Kane's game around a little bit, because Kane's never had blistering pace and he's always been in and around the penalty box. Yeah, as soon as Jose went to Tottenham, he's dropped deeper, like more like Rooney did a little bit at United, getting the ball in midfield and making the play as well. And because he's such a good footballer, he can do that and he can still chip in with goals.
I think a lot of I think a lot of people with Harry Kane, Tottenham fans are definitely not going to like what it is I'm about to say. I would love to see Harry Kane go to Bayern Munich. I'd love to see Harry Kane. I'd love to have seen him sign for Man City last year. I would love to see him at a team with an abundance of class around him, who demand to win, that dominate the majority of games, where he isn't always having to feed on scraps. But I feel for the past couple of years at Tottenham, he's been feeding on scraps. As he's hit his peak, Tottenham aren't playing like they were under Poch. And I feel like with England, he's playing a better quality. The England team are better, pound for pound, player for player than Tottenham, in my opinion. You know, most of these,
that ain't even a debate, Terry.
most of these England players,
even that backline that we've got for England is levels clearer that backline for Tottenham.
Yeah,
and that backline for England ain't that great.
On form, the only Tottenham defender that would get into this England team if they were English is maybe Romero. The rest of them don't have a cat's chance in hell of playing for England. So he's playing with better players, and you see Harry Kane come alive because of that. That's a no from me, Terry. I know, Maria, that's a no from you. But that's what I'm saying. Spurs fans don't like hearing it, but I'm actually praising Kane here. I want to see him play for a top club who have the ability to win the major trophies, because he's that good. And it's going to be annoying that he is, again, he might win the World Cup this year, and we're going to get onto that in a minute. He might win the World Cup, and then he has a legacy in the game. But I keep saying this about Kane, and I'll say it until I'm blue around the lips. I'll say it until the day I die. Until you have major trophies on your CV, you can't sit with the other legends of the game, because all of them have it. All of those players that statistically he's on par with, you go through their CVs. How many don't have one major trophy?
I just remembered as well. Matthew Upson won the Premier League in 02.
Nah,
he's won more Premier Leagues than Harry Kane.
Jonathan Greening's got a Champions League winners medal. Jonathan Greening's got more Champions Leagues than Arsenal. And David May. A question for you I've got is, do you think England can win it?
Well, they're in it, so they've got a chance. You've got to be in it to win it, haven't you? They've got a chance, mate. They've got a chance. But I don't know, man. I don't rate this manager we've got. I don't rate him. I don't rate that back line either. Yeah, I think midfield's got no creativity. That's why Kane drops in. So, okay, cool. And you've got the forward players. Saka's good enough to score goals. Sterling, Grealish, Foden, we know they can score goals. Callum Wilson's going to be a threat because he's quick and he's a good player. Yeah, and he'll bag goals. And Kane will chip in. So our attack, we can score. I think we've proved that in the last couple of major tournaments we've been in. We can score goals for fun. Yeah, but it's when it comes to the nitty-gritty where you're getting a decent country that are going to low block the hell out of you and then just hit you on the counter. Somebody like, Brazil, for example. If we come up against Brazil, would you fancy our chances against them? Not in a final, but if it was, say, a knockout to get to a final or semi, for example.
And it's a great question, because so far
can we even get them? I don't even know whether we can get them in a semi. Can we get them?
I haven't looked. I haven't done a tree this year, as in like knowing who we can get. But when I look at everyone who's played so far,
we can't. We're on the opposite side of the draw.
There we go. So it'd be a final, we'd get them in. But I look at it like this. I'm just looking back at the games we've seen so far, and I'm looking at the big teams that have played. I look at the Netherlands. I look at Argentina. I've seen Denmark. We're going to see France today. I'm not going to make any sweeping statements. Of course, we can win it. It's a plausible chance. We've been to a Euros final and a semi-final in the last two tournaments. This team we've started very well. What I would say so far, though, and we've only seen 2 or 3 of them, so we need to see more before we start making any kind of statement, is I'm intrigued to see how good France look. I'm then intrigued to see how good Germany look. I'm then intrigued to see what Spain, and then it'll be Portugal, Brazil, Uruguay. There's still too many teams left to play before I start making my predictions. What I would say about England, though, and we're fitting into a pattern of a nation that's going to win it. The nation that wins this are going to be technically proficient, but have a lot of pace, power, and strength combined with that. So you're not going to be able to win this just by being big and strong. You're not going to be able to win this just by being technically proficient. I think you're going to need both of those attributes to be able to complete it. And you look at France, you look at Germany, you look at Uruguay, Brazil, they're the ones who I'm really intrigued to see what they look like when they play. Once we've seen them have a game or so, I think then you can really maybe you'll go back to your post-tournament predictions and think, actually, maybe I'll rank England a little bit higher. Maybe I'll rank certain teams a little bit lower. Because the one thing I'd say so far about Argentina and the Netherlands is both of them in their games lacked bite. They had no bite. They had no tenacity. They had no strength. But for me, of course, they've got strength. They're athletes, but Saudi Arabia was stronger today and quicker today than Argentina. Senegal was stronger and quicker than the Netherlands. And I look at England and think, well, we've got strength and power, but it's coupled with very good footballers. And you look at that midfielder, Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice. There are very few midfielders in the world that have more physicality coupled with technical ability than those guys. I'm not saying they're the best in the tournament, but there's very few that have better.
And they complement each other very well as
Yeah,
well.
very well indeed. So, yeah, for me, I look at England and there is a chance, but you're right. It comes down to Gareth Southgate. If he allows us to be more proactive in games, I felt the same thing in the Euros final. We were too negative too long in that game, and we invited too much. We were 1-0 up. We should have been far more aggressive because we should have brought on Jack Grealish sooner. We should have brought on Rashford and Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho was playing very well at the time for Dortmund. They should have both come on much sooner in that game to try and open that team up. We were too pragmatic, and that's what he's not got. We did. We went 1-0 up against Croatia in that semi, and then we're too defensive. That's where it goes wrong for us. We need Gareth Southgate when it really matters.
Game management, man.
To be proactive, really. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm just looking at this wall chart, yeah. So we're on the same side as Argentina and France. Poland, Mexico, obviously. Who else is on our side? America in our group. Ecuador, Holland. They're on our side. So we could potentially get, if everything went to what most people would assume, and being the French getting all the way through to the quarters at least, or a semi, or at least the quarters. Yeah, then if Argentina buck their ideas up, they could potentially meet Argentina in the quarter. And then we should, with that draw that we've got on that side, we should easily get to a semi. Easily, Terry. Yeah, and then the semi would be maybe, I don't know, it'd be one of France, Denmark, Tunisia, Australia, Mexico, Poland, Saudi Arabia, or Argentina. Well, the only two I don't fancy out of that are Argentina, who lost today, and France. Other than that, I'll take any of the other teams.
And this is the thing. I've seen a comment here from Joe, and it's a fair comment. This says you can't be making a judgment based on a performance against Iran. I'm not making a judgment based on Iran solely. I'm also waiting, like I said, and maybe you commented before I got to this point. I want to wait and see. I've seen some England fans go, yeah, we can. And of course we can. There's a chance. But I want to see the other teams play first. We saw no one fancied Italy to win the Euros, and then we saw them play, and it was like, wow, they look good. If Brazil come out and then zipping that ball, they're moving it. A lot of people have written off France, and I'm not willing to do that yet because they're France. Everyone's writing off Germany. You never write the Germans off in tournament football. They don't always perform, but I just don't think it's ever sensible to go, yeah, Germany ain't doing nothing. Like, I think that's a crazy take personally. But we will see. We've got some super chats here. First one says the only positive thing for Argentina after today is if they finish second, they might avoid the bigger sides like Brazil and France in the knockout rounds. Well, that happened to England in 2018. We lost to Belgium in that final group game, and then we got a much easier run than Belgium did to get to a semis. So definitely
they can't get Brazil on the opposite side of the draw, so they could only get France out of the bigger, better nations. They could only get France. But on the other side, it's quite interesting because Spain are in the group with Costa Rica, Japan, and Germany. That group's pretty tough, isn't it? Yeah, but if they get out of that group, depending on which way round it goes, they could have Croatia, Belgium, right? And then after that, Brazil, you'd imagine, would get out of the group pretty easy. Yeah, the only tough team they've got on that side, on the opposite, on their side, is probably Uruguay or Portugal if they do any well. So
yeah.
So yeah, I think Brazil could go quite far. But England, I didn't know the draw was like that. I've not seen the wall charts. So I looked at the wall chart. Yeah, we could actually get all the way to the final, Terry. We could. Well, we should be. If Qatar ain't getting out of the group, let's just have that right. Yeah, right. Let's say Holland get out of the group. Yeah, and they top the group. Let's say. Well, we're going to avoid them. so we won't get them until the quarterfinal.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I think we'll beat Holland. Yeah, and then it'll be from the other Group C and Group D. Well, the only team I don't want out of that is Argentina or France, and one of them is going to knock each other out or might get knocked out before that. So we could potentially get to a semi or a final if everything goes to plan, isn't it?
Yeah, and we certainly could. I cut my parts. Says, hi, guys.
Yeah.
Lovely to see upset Saudi Arabia win versus Argentina. What are your guys' thoughts on the Netherlands winning the World Cup league? Do you rate us?
No. No. Sorry, mate. I know he watches my channel a lot as well. Big up to you, mate. But nah, they're not good enough. They've got some very good players, but they're not good enough, mate. Not good enough at all. And they're going to struggle. Like I said, I didn't watch their game last night. I see the highlights, but you mentioned it that they were getting overrun, overpowered, overworked. Yeah, obviously they won in the end. Yeah, but I think if they come up against somebody half sensible that's got equally as good players, or even not equally as good players, but just outworks them and has a bit of quality up front, then I think they're going to get beaten. So no, not for me.
Yeah, I could. This here from Mr. Phillips says I could see Spain doing something.
They're my dark horses, Tell. Not just because I live here, but because they're that shit. They might actually be half decent. Like, real talk, they're crap.
Listen, normally, and maybe England are the team because a lot of us wrote. I didn't think England would do very well, and I haven't completely changed my mind. However, I'm far more optimistic now after seeing that result. Argentina lost to Cameroon in 1990 and still came back. Yes, absolutely they did, and that was what was his name? Why am I forgetting this man's name? He danced.
Do the dance, Tell.
No. why is his name? Is it Roger something? Why is the name
Roger
gone?
Miller.
Roger Miller. There we go. I was just yeah, they did, and I said it on the stream earlier, Mr. B for Life, that no one should be writing Argentina off because of one poor result. That would be stupid. However, I'm kind of more. I'm kind of more. It makes the group more exciting. That was my kind of take on what happened there.
It means there's more on the next two games.
Whereas
the third game, normally they'd rest a load of players and put reserves out if they got 6 out of 6. So yeah, it means they've got to go for it now, doesn't it?
No, I
Which
agree.
could be a good or a bad thing, because if they go for it and they end up winning the 2 games going through, that might give them momentum, but then they might be more tired when they get to the latter stages. Yeah, or it might just give them the momentum to go all the way.
I hear that.
Has anyone actually ever won? I think Spain did it, maybe. Has anyone won the World Cup after losing their first group game?
Spain.
I think it was Spain, wasn't it? I think Spain are the only team. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
they lost to Switzerland and then they went on to win it. Yeah, I think. Untruly Tyra in here says, and England is Terry. Please put persons who know football on your channel. Well, the thing is that no one's saying that England will. No one has said England will win it. It's a question of how impressed you with their first game.
I definitely don't know anything about football. I've definitely not watched any games in 40 years, mate. Never.
But what I do see a lot online, I see a lot of people very unhappy that England fans are happy, and that's always music to my ears. Like there is just a certain. It's like when England didn't win the Euros. Oh, as a country, England don't deserve it. People said, I'm like, bruv, do your history on Italy, though, G. Like, do you know what I mean? Someone said to me the other day, they actually said, I prefer Argentina to win it. And they were like, I just think they're like the way they behave as a country is a lot better. And I'm like, bruv, just watch the documentary Hunting Hitler and then talk to me about Argentina and Chile and places like that. But
go and have a look at the 1978 World Cup, mate. It was hosted in Argentina.
Yeah, I do enjoy everybody's hypocrisy, and we'll get onto that a little bit later in the show. This super chat here says, Terry, what are your actual expectations for England this World Cup? Because Lee said he wouldn't be surprised if England don't make it out the group stages. What do you really think? Also, will the US advance? Good question. So I'd say this. I was where Lee was. I thought we'd get out the group, but not much further because of basically how we've been for 6 months. However, we won well yesterday, and my dad messaged me. And he's like, this is why you shouldn't have been slagging off Southgate. And I'm like, right, Dad, slow down. He went, no, my dad's view is, and I think it's a good take, whether it comes to fruition or not. His view is he thinks Southgate is a very good tournament manager, but average outside of tournaments. And when I think about my lifetime as an England fan, barring Graham Taylor, every England manager, and of course Steve McLaren, every England manager has typically had us qualify for World Cups and Euros, often in record-breaking fashion.
Yeah.
We get to the tournaments and we're bang average. So I would much rather England and Southgate be average in qualifying, average in the Nations League, average in friendlies, but then turn up and perform in every tournament. That's far more fun for me, right? So my expectations for England with the side the draw we're on, with the group that we've got, with the start we've had now, we have to make the quarterfinals. England has to make the quarterfinals, and then as long as we're not playing a team that is as good or better than us, we're playing a team that we look at and everyone goes, "Yeah, England should be beating them." Then we should be making the semis. I will judge it kind of round by round. I think when you get to quarterfinals, if you get to a quarterfinal and France are amazing and you play them, there's nothing embarrassing about going out to another big footballing nation that are very good. You know, However, I want us to win, and it's about the performance in the game. So quarterfinals as a minimum, and then depending on who we play, maybe a little bit further. And will America advance? They could. I mean, they were better than Wales last night. They just took their foot off the gas. I think they'll be better than Iran. They've got a chance that they've got to play
Mate, that
Harrison
foul that they took when Arsenal's goalkeeper come rushing out like a madman. Yeah, it dropped to Gareth Bale. You thought, nah, he's going to slap that from halfway, mate. That geezer. Yeah. Them Americans must have been cheering that like a goal because, Bale on his left foot, it's going in. Yeah, it's literally going in.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna whip across that FIFA style and it was gonna fall in. And the way
That
he
was
got
like David Beckham, Man United against Wimbledon.
Yeah, the way Acosta took him down, they're teammates as well, LAFC.
Oh, they are, yeah.
The way Acosta took him down, I was laughing, bruv. I was like, oh wow. But Bale's one of those weird. Bale's an interesting one for Wales. I know he scored the penalty, and everyone was raving about it, and I get
Great
why.
penalty as well.
It was, but I kind of look at Bale a little bit like I'm looking at Ronaldo for Portugal and how I looked at Rooney for England in the end. I just kind of feel like maybe he could be more of a hindrance because he can't move anymore. Like he doesn't move. He basically stands there and waits for the ball to come to him. At least with Messi at 35, Messi still does things. Messi still got a little bit of athleticism. Like I look at Bale and I actually like the guy. And there is a debate probably that we had later on in the tournament that he could arguably be the best British, could arguably, club and international career included, you could argue him to be one of the greatest Britons of the modern day era, like footballers, if that makes sense, because of what he did at Real Madrid, the trophies he's won.
He's definitely the best Brit overseas, best Brit that's gone abroad and played football. Like, just look at his trophies and the goals.
Kevin Keegan's probably got something to say about that.
Keegan's up. No, I get you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I would say put it into the modern era, like Premier League era. There's an argument that he is the best British player that's been produced here. Like there has to be, and definitely like as much as I love Ryan Giggs, I would say has got a bigger legacy because of how long he played for. But of course, and we didn't see a lot of what Bale did because when you play abroad, this is the thing. People don't watch La Liga like they say they do. They watch El Clasico, don't they? They watch the Madrid derby.
I used to watch La Liga. I don't watch it so much now. I live here, funny enough. I used to watch it all the time, though. Yeah, but do you know where the Welsh went wrong from what I see in the extended highlights? They need to start that lad. What's his name? Moore. They need to start him. He's a problem, man.
Yeah.
What's his name? Kiefer Moore.
Kiefer Moore. Yeah. Sounds like a Hollywood actor, like an action star. Kiefer Moore.
He looks like an actor as well, doesn't he? Big. He's tall. He could be the next Bond. Like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, they need to start him up front, mate. Yeah, because that guy is an issue. Like we've seen it. He plays for Bournemouth, doesn't he? Is it Bournemouth he plays for?
Yes. He scored the brace. He scored a brace against Spurs a few weeks ago.
That's him. Yeah, he's a problem, mate. And the thing is, he's not a great player. But if you've got, he's like, I'm not putting him on the same level technically as Giroud. Yeah, but he's a little bit Giroud-esque. You could lump a ball up to him at a stick, and he could whip it around the corner to Bale or to someone else. Yeah, if they're going to go with Dan James, mate, they're fucked. Yeah, they need to sacrifice Dan James and put him up front.
That mistake there was very much like they went for a counter-attack approach, but the Americans weren't committing enough players forward, and they were just lumping the ball into space, and there was no space to run into. As soon as they brought Kiefer Moore on, they had someone to hold the play up and bring people in. They came alive, and they have to learn from that. There's no doubt about it, and I'm sure they will. Nabil here says, I don't why you guys downplay England. England won both Cricket World Cups, 2020 and T20 and T50. England needs to win this World Cup. Have faith. Well, it's not about writing.
Bro, it's a different sport, man. It's a
The thing
totally
is,
different sport. Like, come on.
no, it is, but also Nabil, right? What you got to remember is,
There's no history of us actually ever doing anything.
well, we haven't won a tournament since 1966. Yes, we're on our best run of tournament form since then. In fact, barring winning it, it was when we got to the Euros final, it was the first time in our nation's history of getting to a semi-final and then a final in back-to-back tournaments. Like the last World Cup was the first World Cup, I believe, since 1996, where we won our opening 2 games. Like, and this is why there is little faith and people don't get carried away. If we beat America Friday, it's the second time since 1966 that we've won our opening 2 games of a World Cup tournament. If we were to win all 3, that's never happened. So that's why England fans are. People get confused when you see that it's coming home on Twitter and people like singing.
That's just banter. That's just everyone going out getting lashed.
It's a little bit of banter. It's playful. No one, in our heart of hearts, you grab an England fan and go like, "What do you actually think?" Most are like, "Oh, I really want us to win it. I can see a quarterfinals, and we'll see what happens from there." But most nations think like that. Most nations think along those lines. So I do have faith in England to a degree, but I'm not getting carried away yet. And the biggest reason isn't even to do with England. I haven't seen anybody else play yet, and I think you have to wait for that moment. Mr. B says Lewandowski next could do well this World Cup. Yeah, I mean the game's on here in front of me. He could do well at the World Cup. There's no doubt he could do something here. He just doesn't get the service.
He needs a goal to equalise Bukayo Saka's World Cup goals, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He's currently on the same as Rashford. Saka's ahead of him. Same as Jude Bellingham on his first performance. So yeah, but he could definitely do something. There's no doubt.
Rashford's goal the third quickest from a substitute coming on.
The quickest.
It wasn't the quickest.
Oh, Opta said it was the quickest yesterday.
No, it's not. It's not the quickest. Yeah, there was a guy. I'll get it. I'll find it in a minute. Yeah, I heard it on Fox Sport. He's the third quickest substitute, 16 seconds. Yeah, but there was.
Wow.
I think it was a guy from Senegal or Ghana.
Oh yeah, Opta Stats changed it. They put a new tweet out and they said, "Yeah, third quickest." Yeah, the first tweet they put out was
to check their facts before they start tweeting misinformation. Yeah,
yeah, it was great. It was great to see. Super chat here says, "I agree, Lee, but we're a hard country to beat. 35 games unbeaten. LVG will take us to glory. Our front line sucks, so I agree."
Bro, don't worry about 35 unbeaten. Yeah, Argentina found out what that was all about. 36 unbeaten. Bosh, bring on the Saudis.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, I don't think Poland and Mexico would be looking at that, wanting to play Saudi Arabia real soon.
No, because you're also going to have such a raucous atmosphere now because the Saudis are going to have belief of qualifying to the next round. And I don't think Saudis have ever been that far. I don't think. Maybe they have, and I'm just not.
They've only ever got out the group once since '94, and that was their first tournament, '94. Then they got out of the group.
They got knocked out. Fair enough. So, and it being obviously it's not in Saudi, it's in Qatar, but it's the neighbors, the regions. They're right there. They'll feel like
the fans were in the ground. It was literally just a sea of green.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's like if the World Cup was in Scotland. Going to Scotland wouldn't feel like going abroad. Do you get what I mean? I'm sure there's it feels relatively like a home fixtures for them. I wanted to ask you though, because I've seen a lot of stuff for you on Twitter and I've seen a lot of stuff online. A lot of hypocrisy surrounding this World Cup in the sense of people complaining about.
I will be listening.
No worries. Complaining about where it is, what goes on, things they can and can't wear, rainbow hats and armbands and everything else. But again, we spoke about this on a few shows, but I wanted to get your take on this because I know you've done a lot of research into other parts of the world that the Qataris invest in and people still use those services. What's your take on the kind of the Qatar outrage hypocrisy that's kind of floating around the world right now?
You did well to long that out, Terry. I can't lie.
I'm brilliant, aren't I?
Mate, I've seen the BBC refuse to show the opening ceremony. Why? Why does everyone in England pay for a TV license? Oh yeah, it's for the BBC. So why are you deciding to show women's football when it's a World Cup? Like, fair play, show women's football, but you've got how many other BBC channels? BBC Two, BBC Three, BBC Four. Like, there's so many BBC channels. Why did they have to do that? They were doing that to prove a point. You've got Alex Scott sitting there saying that, oh well, I wasn't going to come to Qatar And all of my friends were saying you shouldn't come. Oh, okay, Alex, why did you come? Oh, because I love my job. Okay, so why didn't you do your job from a BBC studio in Manchester or London then? Why did you have to be there? Right? Because you're getting paid. That's why. Got Gary Lineker, who's one of the biggest muppets on social media. I can't lie, Terry, right? This guy said that he was going to adopt a refugee. Did his refugee go with him to Qatar?
I don't know. I haven't seen him.
Did he even adopt a refugee? No, he didn't, but it got him a load of traction on the internet. And this is what this guy does. Yeah, and the ironic thing about this whole thing, yeah, is they're all sitting there, right? A match of the day in England. Yes, they'll have people at every game, or the highlights of every game, should I say. So they'll have people at the games, but Gary Lineker's sat in a studio with Alan Shearer normally, or whoever else it may be, whether it's Alex Scott or whoever else, Ian Wright, whatever. So they don't have to go to every game, do they? So why have they all flown to Qatar when they're so against it? They spent half an hour not showing the opening ceremony, just absolutely slandering the country. But then Gary Lineker was then spotted in a pub in Qatar after he said he was only there to work. Oh, really? How comes you were out in a bar then, mate? Yeah, partying it up then on the taxpayers' money. Yeah, because that's what they're doing. They're getting the best flights, the best hotels, the best of everything, the best wages. And you're paying for that with your TV license money, right? And then they've got the audacity to sit there and not show the opening ceremony. Why? Right? I think it's mad. And the funny thing about it is like the amount of people that have come out. I mean, Gary Neville, I don't even want to speak about that guy. That guy is just the biggest muppet, right? Moaning about Super Leagues and all of that, and then he's on beIN Sports. But when you've got Arsenal players or ex-Arsenal players, Leah Williamson, saying that she's boycotting it because of the human rights. And then while she's posting that, she's in warm weather training in Dubai. Like, make it make sense, Tel. Like, it don't make sense, right? And then you've got Alex Scott sitting there going, oh, yeah, well, the workers over here were getting paid £1 an hour. I think it's truly disgusting. Okay, you're donating all your money to the workers then. No, you're not, are you? You've got Harry Kane saying that he's going to wear an armband and then bottles it and don't wear it, which proves that when he wore the rainbow laces one, he genuinely didn't care anyway. Yeah, if he did, he wouldn't have gone to Qatar in the first place. The whole thing just stinks of hypocrisy. I want to read this out as well, Terry, because somebody put this on a video I did that I dropped today. It was a clip from yesterday. It said, Sainsbury's in England is the official England sponsor. Sainsbury's is majority owned by Qatar. Barclays Bank, which sponsored the Premier League, is 6% owned by Qatar. Heathrow Airport, where England fly out of, 20% Qatari owned. British Airways, Qatar has the majority shares in that company too. It then says Canary Wharf, Mayfair and Camden, the majority are owned by Qataris. The majority of big properties and houses around there and businesses are owned by Qataris. In May 2022, the UK government welcomed a further 10 billion of Qatari money to be invested in the UK in the next 5 years. He then put, this was quite funny actually, he then put at the bottom, there's always a discussion whether London is red, white or blue. I think London is Qatari. The Shard as well. I forgot the Shard. The Shard is owned by the Qataris. So when these people are sitting there going down their moral high ground and, oh, yes, rights about this, rights about that. Okay, what I want to ask these people is, number one, if you're getting paid while you're out there and you feel so strongly about it, why don't you donate your money to the workers? You're not going to, are you? Because you're full of rubbish. Number two, you don't have to be there. You could have done that from the studios in London or Manchester if you're the BBC. Now, Gary Lineker's argument was, oh, I'm not getting any extra money to go here. It's part of my contract. Yes, Gary, it is part of your contract. But if you felt that strongly about it, you wouldn't have done it. You'd say, no, I'm boycotting this out of principle. A little bit like Johan Cruyff did when he never went to Argentina in 1978. Yeah, and Platini was on the verge of doing something that year as well. It just stinks of hypocrisy. They all sit there and want to be freedom fighters, Terry, right? How many of these people have actually gone on a protest or a march or whatever you want to call it for the LGBTQ community, for BLM, yeah, for working rights, migrant rights? How many of these have gone on protest for any of this? None of them. How many of these people are tweeting it off an iPhone, sitting in Adidas or Nike products, yeah, that they've ordered off of Amazon, and then they're booking their holidays up to go to Dubai? Then not only that, and the last thing I want to say on this, the football kits that the England's men's team were wearing yesterday, it got leaked this week that they're manufactured in Bangladesh for 21 pence an hour. Why aren't any of these freedom fighters come out and said anything about that? Mad.
Do you know what's interesting about it? No. Do you know what's interesting about it? I remember, and I don't have it word for word, but maybe I've just found it here. I want to read this out word for word if I can find it. Apple rolled into the TV game with a superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? That was part of what Gervais said. And that stands out to me. What happens is this. People virtue signal and pretend that the things they're tweeting about, the pictures they're posting online, the badges they wear, they deep rootedly care, but they don't. They're doing it because it gets them through the door. It helps them get work. It helps them keep jobs. It helps them to keep jobs. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. That's what the virtue signaling does. The problem then is this. You have genuine people who actually care about those things, but they believe you as a very powerful, influential person that you care as well. So they become outraged when they go, hang on though, but why are you not wearing the armband now? You've been wearing the laces or you've been wearing the armband for ages. Now that you're threatened to be, when you think about it logically, being booked as an England captain for wearing the armband is a minor punishment for a protesting move. But yet, I'd rather not get booked than wear the armband. Now, I can respect Harry.
Armband round each game.
You can do, but equally, I respect Harry Kane's right to do that. But it shows that issue isn't deep rooted within you. And I'll give you an example away from something emotive. I didn't want, when it first came out, the Super League to happen. But after about 2 days, I streamed with Joel Bayer. And Joel Bayer said on the stream, and it changed my mind instantly. He went, I know everyone's outraged, but don't act like you guys aren't going to make content about it. And I laughed. And then my mind about the Super League changed because I would be an idiot to completely condemn it and say it should never happen. Because then when if it happens and then you start covering it, you look foolish. And I took this stance a long time ago towards the Qatar World Cup. I had this stance towards, and I don't care if people hate me for saying this because I'm only speaking the truth. A lot of people moan about Amazon. They say the way workers are treated by Amazon is a disgrace, and they don't pay enough tax and all these things. And I'm like, when I read it or hear it, I'm like, yeah, that's bad. But then I asked the question, but do I want to stop getting 24-hour free delivery? Well, £80 a year for all the music I want, loads of good TV and films, and next day delivery. Am I willing to get rid of that? The answer is I'm not. The same as 99.9% of you are not willing to get rid of it. Therefore, I don't condemn their actions, because if you condemn the actions but partake in the problem, you're a hypocrite. And I actually think to some degree the hypocrites are worse than the people. In some instance, sometimes worse than the perpetrators. Because at least the perpetrators are doing it. Going, it's what I'm doing. This is me. It's what I believe in. The people that are like, I think it's wrong, but I'm going to take your money or I'm going to use your product. It annoys me to see it. And like you've already said, if it's any of these if Alex Scott, as an example, a presenter that I've got a lot of time for, I think she's very, very good. If she literally said to the BBC,
with that as well, by the way,
and that's cool, but if she turned around and said, if I leave and you terminate my contract, I don't care, I'd have so much respect for that. If Harry,
she'd get so much respect globally for that, Terry. And this is the problem, right? You're right what you said. It helps them keep jobs, right? I see last night, Kate Abdo. Is there anything that woman and Alex Scott are not on? Like, next they'll be presenting the news. Like, real talk. She was on Fox America presenting the America game last night, in the studio presenting the American game last night against Wales, right? She does DAZN boxing. So then when I load up DAZN and I want to watch the boxing, she's there. Yeah. Sky Sports, BT Sport, all that. She's on everything, that woman, right? And listen, I ain't got no issue with her being on everything, but it's like, my point is, well, mate, why is it only certain faces are getting all of these gigs? Yeah, why is it that? Why is that the case? Right, and you have to look at it. I don't follow. I don't see anything about what Kate Abdo's thoughts and feelings on anything are. I do with Alex Scott because it gets highlighted more because she's an ex-Arsenal player. Yeah, so I'll see that within the Arsenal fan community. Yeah, my point with it is when you've got people that are constantly being on every channel and they're spitting what they want to spit, people will sit there and back that, right? And they will go with it because it's an ex-player of your football club, whether it be men or women's football, right? Now, Leah Williamson came out and said that she's not watching the World Cup at all. At all. She refuses to watch it because of the human rights and blah, blah, blah. This is a woman that wears Adidas on the T-shirt because she plays for Arsenal. Yeah, and she plays in the Emirates Stadium. Yeah, Emirates Stadium, Terry. And the shirt says Fly Emirates on it. Yeah, make it all make sense, Tel.
Mate, but
like, come on.
This is the point I'm making. And I'm not smart enough to like know the answers to this, but the hypocrisy is it, and it's not about whataboutism, because what people are afraid, go, that's just whataboutism. But it isn't whataboutism, it's how people genuinely feel. And Maria Williams is bang on here. She says the issue is you can't be moral about one thing and not all, it's all or nothing. People are moaning about Amazon, but happily own an iPhone. And the thing is, I understand in the modern day world, having a smartphone is quite important for a lot of people's businesses and what they do, but you don't actually have to have one. Like, you don't have to, but people choose to. And it's the hypocrisy that's within it that people have got to realize is, and I've just always had that outlook on life. If you participate, buy products from, use companies that you know, I kind of get if you've got to fly somewhere, you know, if the Qataris owned every supermarket in England, you'd have to use one of their businesses because otherwise you're going to starve, right? I kind of, to a degree, I get that, right? That makes it hard. There are certain elements.
Grow your own food.
Yeah, you could do the good life.
Oh, Hector Bellerin's another one as well. Hector Bellerin was on, I don't know what channel it was on, but I see the footage of it, and he said that he's a little bit saddened that he's not going to the World Cup. I thought, well, you weren't good enough, mate. You know, right? But that's by the by. And he said, but then I don't think it would have sat right with me that all the 6,500 people that lost their lives. Well, number one, that figure's been extremely manipulated. Yeah, somebody that put an article in one of my videos the other day, and they've basically put down pretty much every passing away in the last 12 years from the whole country. Yeah, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I've not dug right into that, but the figures have been fudged.
Well,
right, to prove somebody's point.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and David makes a great point here. Stop boycotting and start explaining and working with them. And I actually think that's a far more, and it's very broad what I'm about to say, but what my dad always taught me about life was, he just used to say the words when I didn't understand things: education and integration. Work with people, get to know people, you know, work alongside them, you know, try and, like, I think by having lots of people in their country, you will have lots of Qatarians who will walk away from this, Qataris, sorry, I think it's Qatarians or Qataris, will walk away from this and go, actually, my view of the West is different than I thought it was going to be. You may see certain rules and regulations slightly relaxed. Integration is very, very key. So I think it's important to go to these places. And what's really key, I always find when you're traveling, is to represent, and I'm very conscious of this, English people have a very bad reputation abroad on holidays. I've always been aware of that. Everywhere I've ever gone, I've been on beyond my best behavior, because my view is always you represent your people to a certain degree. Yeah. If I'm in Italy on holiday, and people go, "Oh, are you England?" I already know there's what is he? I love people walk away, and I've had this compliment a few times, and it makes me feel proud. Where they're like, "Oh, you're not like I thought you'd be because you're English." And I'm like, "That's great to hear." Do you get what I'm saying? Now, I remember the first time I chilled with Germans. I was about 12. It was a big tournament, and we were in the same, sleeping in the same place as the Germans, same like resort. And we were training and warming up. First couple of days, the Germans, like they're growing up as a kid, like the England-Germany rivalry and everything. It was mad, right? But then I got talking and chatting to them, and I made friends with them. And I remember coming home, and I told my dad. My dad's very like liberal and open-minded. So that's good, well done. I said, "You know, that's mad, Dad." I said, like, I always thought that foreign people were so much different. I went, once you get to know them, all the basic,
just normal people,
we're all the same.
Good and bad in every country. My next door neighbor my neighbor lives directly opposite me. They moved in April, retired couple. They're German. They're lovely, always like open the doors. They always knock on the door and ask if we need anything. Like really, really nice people, no dramas. But this is the perception that these certain people will put out there about Germans. Yeah, when it comes to England, Germany, it gets hyped up. Yeah, then you see all the idiots singing stupid songs. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, but this is, and it's because we get taught about the world wars in school in England. I don't know whether they do that in every other country, but in England we did. Yeah, you got it when we were going through school. So did I. So you get, and it's subconscious brainwashing. Yeah,
Yeah,
to make out that all of that country are bad. Yeah, that's not the case.
and they do it. And they do it to us being English as well. And that's why I also don't do it, because I don't like people doing it to me. I don't like to be lumped in with idiots that go abroad fighting and being louts. Like, I'm not that kind of person. Me being English doesn't make me like them. It isn't. There isn't a gene within us that makes us behave that way. That's a certain type of person, and I bet you there's that kind of person within most. And we know there's that football hooligan tag. We know there's hooligans from most European countries. They like football hooligans I'm talking about. Like, it's not a innately English trait. It's across Europe. I mean, it may be across the world. I don't even know. I've never even researched it. But from my point of view, and I like this here, exactly, Terry, that's what we want, togetherness. And I think that's what's really, really
That's what the World Cup's supposed to be about. Did you see that Ecuadorian lad that was getting like giving it the big one in front of all the Qataris when Ecuador scored? Yeah, he
yeah.
was giving all the money, money, money.
And they
then
ended up being friends.
nobody really shared the video of him sat talking to the guy afterwards. That wasn't mostly shared. It was the one with him standing up giving it money and everyone like having a go at him. Yeah, that got shared by pretty much every single big social media outlet out there. Right, but the one where he was sat talking to the guy, I didn't see hardly any of them share it. Why?
Yeah.
Because that didn't get as many clicks, did it?
And again, my view is this: if people in the UK government want to condemn Qatar, that's their right to. That's a human right to. But stop taking money, stop taking investment, stop selling the. I was reading. I swear I read something. Yes, I'm actually going to go and get this. I want to get this right. Someone put, and this is why I find it hard to. On a personal level, you have your own feelings towards things, and as a sovereign person, I've got my own opinion on different bits and pieces. But when I talk about like the government and the countries doing it, I want to find this thing right that someone put out, right, and I saw this, right, and I saw it and it made me laugh. I just thought to myself, see, this is why Danny Devil in the details shared this yesterday. I'm going to go to his media page and find it. This is it here. So he says the UK is anti any country with a bad human rights record, but he's happy to sell arms to them. 17 billion pound. This article was written a year ago. 17 billion pound of UK arms sold to human rights abusing countries, the likes of Libya, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. In terms of who have on paper these bad records in the modern day world, 17 billion pounds worth of arms the UK sells to them. So as soon as I see that, anyone official in England moaning about these countries, I can't take seriously, because if you're selling, like, imagine selling the weapons to the countries who use those weapons to commit the atrocities and then moaning about it. It doesn't make sense. It's like McDonald's moaning about an obesity problem. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. And that's why I find it really hard. The thing is, what people then do is they go, you don't care about the rights of the LGBTQ community or the rights of women. No, I do. But it's not I'm not frustrated by the subject matters. They are right conversations to have, and debates should be had. I believe in democracy, and I believe in people being able to air their views and opinions. It isn't even people that want to boycott. I don't have an issue with that, but do it. Don't say we should. This is horrible.
Yeah,
and
but
then
don't do it. Yeah,
and then go there and go, hi everyone, look where I am. It's mad.
Yeah, there's that. But then also don't say that you're against this and you're against that when you're wearing products and playing for a football club that are sponsored by the same issues, like countries or companies that have got the same issues that you're fighting against. It's mad. It is actually mad. But there's a great comment in here from where is he? Hendon Guna, when I mentioned about all these idiots singing the songs. He said these are the same people, yeah, that are singing the songs about the Germans that are driving BMWs, Mercedes, and Audis. It's so true. It is so true, man. And this is the thing. It's like it seems to me that a lot of these players, especially the players, yeah, they want to be seen as advertiser friendly to everybody. Yeah, they want to keep everybody like sweet. They want to build up a bigger audience to monetize that for when they retire from football. Yeah, so it's like, and like you said, it'll open up other angles, it'll keep other people in jobs, it'll get them jobs. Right? It's embarrassing, mate. All of that lot that have gone to Qatar from the BBC.
No, I get it.
And said stuff, mate. They're a shambles.
No, I get it. This comment here is an interesting one from Franklin. He says, he turns around and says, Gary Lineker and Alex Scott don't get paid by the Qataris, by the way. Saudi Arabia and Qataris aren't the same regimes. That's what's about to read. They both Muslim countries. That's about it. So listen, no one's saying they're being paid by them, but obviously when they're out in Qatar, so the BBC will pay for hotels. they will pay for food. They will spend money within that nation. They will enrich that nation that they are, and give money to the regimes that they are condemning. That makes no sense. Like, I wouldn't give money to something I don't agree with, barring the only thing I have to give money to that I don't agree with is the UK government for tax. I can't legally not do that. I can that's it. But I wouldn't give money to anybody. Or if there was a country that I wasn't happy with the way they behaved, I wouldn't go there for love nor money. That's what I mean. So I don't think it is whataboutery. Equally, like,
The thing is that they're under contract, right, by the BBC, yeah, which is not Qatari funded, or as far as I'm aware, right? But Gary Lineker's argument was, I don't get paid any extra. It's part of my contract. So at that point, after you've gone on your little mad rants about it, Gary Lineker, yeah, why don't you just say, okay, cool. Well, I'm a multimillionaire. I can live comfortably for the rest of my life. I feel so strongly against this that, sorry, I'm not going. And if you want to get rid of me, see you later. But they won't.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah, it's the same with Alex Scott. Alex Scott sat there and said she wasn't going to go, but she decided to go because she loves her job. Well, I'm quite sure you could have gone and worked for another TV station that aren't in Qatar and done it from a studio somewhere else.
And equally as well, this isn't the same as a normal person with a normal job who isn't a millionaire. Like, if Gary Lineker never works again, he's fine. It's just the case of you act like this is what the issue with it is. It's not about comparing countries or whatever. It isn't even about the general normal person complaining about this or wanting to boycott it or not watching it. That's fair. It's people that say they're going to boycott it, say it's disgusting and wrong, but then still 100% partake in it when they don't have to. Gary Lineker doesn't need to be there. He has no need to be there. If you're someone who's just starting off in this industry, you don't really have any money, and you're like, oh, I don't really want to go because of what's going on. But it's a, it's a 50K deal.
That opinion online, Terry.
Yeah, it's a 50K deal. I need the money. I got to feed my kids. I can respect there being hypocrisy in that, because feeding your kids, as an example, comes before, in my opinion, comes before everything. But to feed my kids, there's not much I wouldn't do to make sure my kids were fed. Simple as that. I won't ever yield from that. And no man, no woman on earth, in my opinion, thinks differently to me on that, if they're being really honest. But when you're worth £20 million and you don't need the job, don't moan about it. Just take your money, present us the shows, and keep quiet. That's my view.
And that's the point. There's a comment in there that says Lineker can get a job after the BBC easily. Yeah, it's the same with Alex Scott. They can both get jobs on other channels. Like, we see what happened with Richard Keys and Andy Gray back in the day. Yeah, they're now working in Qatar, yeah, for beIN Sport, and have been on there getting paid a lot more money than Sky Sports were ever paying them. So, and that was through something stupid that they done.
No,
so if you're going to come out and have this freedom fighter and I'm so against something attitude, then stick with it then. Yeah, and say, no, I'm not going. If you want to sack me, sack me, but I'm standing by my belief.
I want to see all the guys at the anti-capitalist protest, but they're eating McDonald's and Starbucks and they've got iPhones. I don't take them seriously. I take you more seriously if you're like, oh, what's your number? I ain't got one because I ain't got an iPhone. This is capitalistic. How am I going to get hold of you? Send me a letter by pigeon. That's what I want to hear. This is my address. I've got a home in Pigeon. I'll send them to your house, and then you send me a letter back. Some super chats here. This one says, I'm sorry if I offended anyone, but European countries complain about immigrants not respecting their culture, and these same people do the same to others and point out the negative things. Right. Hypocrisy. Terry and Lee, should you see? I did see the Souness and Kane route. It's very good. It's very good. Go to search it. They fight over the penalty that Argentina got. It's quite nice. It's quite a good little row.
I'll have to watch that.
Where were these people when the human rights were being violated, when the Nuremberg Code was being violated in 2001 by the UK, EU, and still is by Australia and the US?
Somebody put a super chat in my stream the other day. He's American, and he said 4,600 or 4,800 people last year in America died through poor working conditions in America. Nobody mentions that though.
There's a town in America, I think it's called Flint, that I swear for about 5-6 years now hasn't had clean drinking water through their taps. Like, you can find these issues everywhere. Like, Marcus Rashford had to raise money to feed millions of children in England. Like, I'm not comparing the things here. I'm just stating, if you want it, you can find problems with anything and anyone and everyone. Then you can't do fuck all. Then you can't do anything. Do you know what I mean? I had someone the other day, right? I tweeted something out there. I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter books and the films. I like them. I don't care. Someone said to me, "You have to boycott them now because of everyone's distaste for J.K. Rowling," and I'm like, "That's a hard thing to do." Do you know what I mean? I've just got over the fact that I can't play R. Kelly music anymore. I grew up loving that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even making a joke of it. It's like you could ban everything if you wanted to. It's like vegans who complain about animals and climate change when their food uses parasites, killing billions of rodents and insects for their food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most vegans eat avocados. Look how many bees die
I know they kill
making
a
avocados.
lot of bees die making avocados. They do. I do. I watched that Piers Morgan interview as well.
Yeah, I'll see that come up on
Yeah,
TikTok.
it's one of them ones. It's one of
I
them.
didn't even know that. I genuinely didn't know that. And I love avocado. Yeah, I
Yeah.
genuinely didn't know that until I see that. And so I Googled it. I was like, he's got to be on a wind up. And then he sat there eating the Big Mac, didn't he?
I was like, yeah, that guy. Again, though, see, when you're as rich as Piers Morgan, you can kind of do these things. So people laughed when he kind of left GMTV. I'm like, you guys do realize how much money this man's got? Like, you're laughing at someone that doesn't need to work.
Realize he's going to make more because now he's blown himself into like everywhere. And somebody will say, yeah, we'll set up a channel. We'll do this. And look at him. He's getting a Ronaldo interview the other day. Mad.
Yeah. No, that's it. And I agree with you, Maria Williams. Like, I think in certain cases in life, you can separate the entertainment value of something from what they've done. Again, I gave the example of R. Kelly. I can't do that. What he did is so heinous. I can't do. However, though, I guarantee people still watch movies that were made by Harvey Weinstein. He made so bloody many. You're going to not watch any of them?
BBC, Terry.
Well, this is the thing about the BBC. So have I told you this story before about how I nearly lost my job at Barclays because of the BBC?
Yeah, you have.
Because they asked me about like working for a company that's damaging the food markets, and at the time I was I just in the branch, working in a branch job, earning barely any money, and I just said to them, "How do you feel working for a company that covers up?" This was like 10 years ago. I said this; it was a height of it. Working for a company that covered up paedophilia for 30+ years, and he complained about me. I'm like, you can't take your own questions, and that's the point about it. Like, and there's still crap like this going on now.
Not only that, you have to pay to watch it. You have to pay a TV license fee to watch that channel.
I know.
If you don't pay it, you get nicked and go to jail.
Who's coming out first? Lee for being Arteta in or Terry for being an Arsenal fan at heart. Big up to you both. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see. We'll absolutely see what happens there. Listen. Karl Marx's manifesto admitted that capitalism is superior economic. Listen, I know who Karl Marx is. I'm a supporter of capitalism, and I have to be. I worked in banking for 15 years, and I run a YouTube channel. To not be like, you can't do what I do and not be. This super chat here says Flint still does not have clean water, and Jackson, Mississippi. That's my point. And again, some will say that doesn't equate to what happens in Qatar, and I'm not suggesting that it does. But for some people, for the people in Flint, that's the biggest issue that's going on. Do you get what I mean? And that's why it's hard for everybody to care about everything that's going on, because people have, like last week when I weren't well and I didn't know what was going wrong with me, I'm telling you, in that week, I couldn't give a damn about anybody else in the whole world's problems because I had issues. And that's the thing. Everyone's got issues, mental health issues, health concerns, earning enough money, feeding their kids, their own trials and tribulations, expecting everybody. And this is the thing with being offended now, expecting everybody to care as deeply about the things you care about all the time. And if they don't, you call them names is crazy. It isn't that I'm unsympathetic towards everything. I just can't care about everything. Now, equally, I do care for LGBTQ plus rights. Like, I have no issues with that community. Like, it doesn't, the people that fit within that community, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really see them as a different group of people. Just they fit within that community. Like, it doesn't, none of it bothers me. From my standpoint is, though, I've had a few people message me, oh, you haven't really said too much about this and I said much about that. And again, it comes down to, I'm not educated enough. I don't know enough about the subject. I'm not going to be debating people online about things that I'm not an expert in. And I've taken a stance in the last 3 to 4 years to step away, stay in my lane and talk about the things that I think I know and understand. Because otherwise, you look a tit. I think people look really stupid online. I remember once they got an ex-contestant from Big Brother and some doctor to debate Brexit. And it was like, what's she debating it for? No disrespect. She literally said, the guy said to her, like, what's your education on this? She went, I'm just a normal person. I'm like, why? And the doctor literally has got like a PhD in political science. And I'm like, why are they debating? It was so mad. It's like, I would never, it's like me. This is how I think it is, right? When it comes to these big subjects, me really getting involved on a deep level, it's like me challenging Jordan Peterson to a debate about psychoanalyzing people. That's just, I would never do it. I'd never do it. Do you know what I mean? I just sit down and I listen. I sit down and I listen. Listen, people, make sure you're smashing those like buttons before the end of the stream. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Very important to us that you get that done. Live tonight after France versus Australia. We'll see if they're put on a Barbie. Bad joke. Lee, pleasure as always to talk to you, my brother. Everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very, very soon.
It's coming home. It's coming home.